At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the US under the US Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in Health, the Optavia team.
Well, welcome everyone to the Habits of Health Community Time. I'm Chantel Flake and I'm an independent certified Optavia coach, and I'm so excited that you've taken the time tonight to join us to talk all about healthy habits. And tonight we're going to be talking about element 15 in our life book, which is how to eat healthy for life. So I would love to get an idea of who is on tonight. So are you a client, a coach, or a guest? So just go ahead and fill out this poll. And, I want you to know that whatever phase you are in this journey, just know that you are in the right place. Because isn't it interesting that we all come together with different parts in our journey, but we're learning the same principles. So it's just so fun. By way of introduction, I'm Chantel. And 9 years ago, I was introduced to the habits of health. And it's interesting because when I was introduced to the habits of health, I was in a pretty good place with my health. And I was practicing a lot of these habits. I was a fitness instructor, and many people would actually come up to me and ask me over and over, how do I stay healthy? Or what do I do to stay healthy? And I knew for a while that I wanted to make more of an impact on people's lives. I had that 1 hour a day that they would come into my class that I would help them and make a difference. But those other 23 hours in the day, I really wanted to be able to help them with their habits. And so when I found this habits of health system, I knew that is how I could transfer health to somebody else. So maybe that sounds familiar to you. But something interesting happened as I started learning all of these things, getting on these Zooms and taking part of this community. I was actually really surprised how much of this was actually for me. And even though I felt like I was proficient in a lot of these habits, I realized that it wasn't just like a checklist. It was so much deeper. I had so much to learn. I felt like I was very humble and I realized how far I had to go. The more I learned, the more I knew, the more that I knew that I wanted to learn. And even though you wouldn't look at my before and afters, they look pretty much the same. The inside transformation was what was dramatic for me, because I found that it was a complete mindset transformation that can happen. Does anybody relate to this? Like that complete mindset transformation. Right here on the right of the screen, you guys, this is my ultimate why behind my journey. This wild, crazy, beautiful family of mine, this is really why I'm on here tonight. And my goal is always to strive to become the best version of myself. And so the things that I learn as a client, they absolutely help me to become a better parent. And maybe you can relate with this, but my mindset with my health absolutely makes a difference in my relationships. And how I do health is impacted, and it impacts every single area of my life. And so that's why this is lifelong. And this is why I'm here 9 years later. And I couldn't be excited to learn more. So speaking of this lifelong health, we keep talking about this. You've probably heard this if you've been on any of these webinars. This is the how. Here is our transformational system. This right here is the key to long-term sustainable health. So if you're a new guest on tonight, make sure you get your very own copy. Don't share with anyone. Be selfish with this. Get your own copy because this is so critical. This app also can go with you everywhere. So these are the tools that really lay that foundation of what we do here in Optavia and lead us to our optimal goal, which is the lifelong transformation. So let's take a look tonight of what we're going to be doing. By understanding the mindset and Dr. A's eating system, what we're going to learn is we're going to also learn some strategies, and then we're going to be implementing these strategies. Okay, you guys ready? Dr. A talks about, he says, my healthy eating system is designed to help you monitor and manage your energy intake while ensuring that you get a healthy, balanced diet. So if I told you that you could have a system that was, number one, automatic. Okay, so automatic meaning like it was a habit for you. Number two, it supports healthy nutrition. And number three, if it could teach you to eat healthy for life, if it had those three things, would you be interested in learning more? In fact, I want you to tell me in the chat, 1, 2, or 3, or which ones you're interested in. Are you interested in it being automatic, habitual, supporting healthy nutrition, or teaching you to eat healthy for life? Tell me which one, 1, 2, or 3, that you're interested in learning more about tonight. I am excited to introduce you to the amazing Sarah Flake, because she is somebody who I've watched for years that has absolutely made the system that Dr. A talks about. She has made the system a reality in her life, and she's experienced all three of those benefits to Dr. A's healthy eating system. And so I'm so thrilled for you to hear about her journey. She's also going to give us some valuable tools.
Hello, you guys. I'm so glad to be presenting on this topic, and like truly amazing to think where I was before I found this. If I had seen that today I would be teaching people how to like eat healthy for life, like there's no way. Just to give you some background, I was like the professional yo-yo dieter. I had done every possible diet out there. I was concerned with two things: looking good at family events and the number on the scale, right? And if it wasn't an event going on, I would just eat whatever I wanted. But then, you know, high school reunion or a family, whatever. And you guys know there's a million ways to lose weight, right? A million. And I was really good at losing weight. I knew I could drop, 20 pounds in a month eating nothing but bacon. I never knew how to maintain it. But that was just what I did, right? I was on this yo-yo loop, and I wasn't paying any attention to my mindset. I wasn't paying attention to sleep. I wasn't paying attention to my emotional control. And I was just looking for another thing. And I saw Chantel was helping people with this thing. And I was like, oh, I'm good at things. And I have this event coming up. So I was like, whatever it is, send me a box. And she's like, okay. And, but what I didn't realize was what I was getting with this. This was not a thing. This is health school. And I had just enrolled in kindergarten of health school. And when I opened up that box and saw the book and started reading about these habits, sleep, the Stop Challenge 2's techniques, plugging in with community, understanding how exercise affects everything, I started realizing why I had a binge eating habit. I started realizing why I had been dealing with anxiety and depression. I started realizing why I was having these like crazy emotional control eating with food. I thought I was broken, but then I just started reading Dr. A's studies about how sugar affects us and how we've been manipulated by, the grocery system, and it blew my mind. And so, yeah, I lost weight really fast with this, but the thing I realized was up until this point, I like analogies, so I'll be speaking in a lot of analogies. Basically, imagine you have a hose with water. I had been trying to control my health by putting my finger in the end of the hose to stop the water, which doesn't really work very well. And what this system did is it helped me just find the spigot and turn it off. And once I started incorporating all these habits, when I got to my goal weight and my friends were asking me what I was doing, I had a little anxiety at first, trying to offer to help them, because I was like, well, what if I put it back on? What if I do this? What if, I'm not able to maintain? And then I realized I didn't have to ask what if anymore, because I actually had the skills now. And I realized this is a choice every day. When I wake up, I have the skills, I have the tools, I've put in the time, I've read the books, and I don't have to be anxious about what if I go back to old habits. All I have to ask myself is, what do I choose? Because if I choose this, I know how to do it. And I know it takes work, but it is so much better to live healthy, where I'm able to do as much as I want, be as active as I want, have the energy I want, fall asleep on time, not have cravings triggers. So I just keep choosing it every day. Some days are better than others, but I have my little GPS setting to healthy. And sometimes when I stray, I can just pull that back up and I know exactly what to do, exactly what tweaks to make to get back to it. So this is what I've committed to. And now when we're talking about what maintenance looks like, it's basically understanding how to use food correctly. So our goal for anyone who comes into this program is knowing how to walk into any grocery store, any restaurant. And this graphic shows basically how to use food efficiently. So whatever you eat, your body just uses on the spot, and 2 to 3 hours later, you put in just the right next amount. But how do you do that? Next slide. Okay, so as someone who had done all the programs out there, I was terrified of bread for years and years and years. When I learned about this system for maintenance, it was such a relief, because I don't like to count things. I'm super busy. I love eating, which is what got me into the problem I was when I found this program. And the good news is, maintenance, you eat a lot of food. You eat all the time. I know where I want to maintain. I know that I have to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And now, having gone through the Habits of Health education system and having learned these different portions, I know how to do that correctly. Just to give you an idea, for me, at 5'5", I can pretty much eat all the vegetables I want. Like, you can never have too many vegetables. When we're talking about a healthy plate, remember, the plate size itself is indicative. So look for a smaller plate so you get the right portion. But about 25% of that plate should be some kind of healthy portion, protein. 25% is some kind of grain, starch. That could be rice, pasta, a single piece of bread. And then the other 50% of your plate, vegetables and fruits. I would say blow out the tires on your vegetables, you guys. They are delicious and filling, and so many good things in there. Save room for some fruits. There's some great antioxidants in there as well. But this plate system is really, really simple. Now, if I'm having a smaller meal, I make sure that I always have at least a protein and a vegetable in there. If I want to make it bigger, I'll splurge a little more on the grains and the fruits. But when we're talking about portion sizes, really just depends on what you're eating. Now, if you're not sure of portions, we have this guide here, but also you can always just check the package as well. Any grain especially, just flip it over, check the package. Like a bagel, half a bagel is one portion. Don't eat that whole thing unless it's on your plan. So for grains, we're looking at about a tennis ball size. If you go to a restaurant and order, they're going to bring you like Mount Rushmore of rice. Just know that you get to choose your own portion on that. For your proteins, about a deck of cards. For your fruits and vegetables, I like to kind of like do this with my hands for my vegetables. It kind of gives you an idea of a good healthy vegetable size. For your fruits, about half a cup, medium apple, small banana. So keep those around. Keep them portable, keep them easy to grab. My fridge is always full of stuff like cottage cheese, applesauce, little fruit cups. I love my boiled eggs, string cheese, Greek yogurts. So keep it simple. All right, and then I like to dine out. I'm a city girl. I eat out a lot. There's no reason you can't do this. It's a really nice way to connect with people, have time, have like a ritual, get to connect. So first of all, thankfully in 2020, you can always look up the menu online before you go. You don't need to stress about it. So before you get there, before you show up hungry, just look up the menu online and find some really good dishes that fit your program that you feel good about. Do not skip meals before you go into a restaurant. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna eat a big meal, I better save up my calories. I usually will even just eat a small snack about an hour before I go into a restaurant. If I'm worried about overeating, I'll just have a little snack before I get there. And then, we've got some tips here on this slide. Something else I like to do, if you're the person eating healthy, I like to make a little game out of it, and I try to time my meal so I don't finish before the slowest eater at the table. So if you're eating healthy, it's going to take you less time probably to eat that food. So try to look around the table and play it by ear and judge and see who the slow eater is so you don't finish before they do. Also, don't be afraid to ask your waiter. I've been a waiter before. I'm sure a lot of you have. We don't mind when people ask questions. What's annoying is when someone gets a dish that they don't like and we could have done something and we couldn't have helped. So it's okay. Questions that I like to ask when I'm at a restaurant is, first of all, how big is it? You know, how much portion am I getting? How is it prepared? Maybe you didn't know if it was going to be grilled. Does it come with sauce on it? What comes as a side? So go ahead and ask those questions, know exactly what you're getting. Feel free to double up. If it comes with like potatoes on the side, French fries, you can just always ask for double veggies. So blow out the tires on your veggies. Also, I like to start and finish each meal with a full glass of water. So before I even begin my meal, drink a full glass, and then at the end of my meal, drink another full glass. Then when dinner or dessert time comes around, I get a tea, I get a coffee. So again, I'm not just sitting there doing nothing while maybe other people are getting desserts, but you can really enjoy dining out. Just know it's okay to ask questions. Oh, and one quick tip before I'm done. Sometimes you get something on your plate you may not want. I oversalt it. If there's something on my plate I don't want, I just kind of like sabotage it if I'm worried and I don't want to make a scene. And of course, you can always get to-go boxes. So get your portion just how you want it. Put the rest either on someone else's plate or in a to-go box. But feel free to take control. You don't worry about asking too many questions, but enjoy it.
Okay, I love that salting tip. I'm gonna have to. I've never heard that. I'm gonna have to try that. Genius. I love these, Sarah. Thank you. It is amazing to see your pictures and your that split screen, the 3 pictures about how you've been able to implement these tools. These truly work, you guys. I want you to think about dining out. If you were able to master this, or even just get a handle on this dining out, what could that mean for your health? I talk to so many clients, so many people that this is their pain point. They say, I'm good until the weekend, until I go out. And the temptation, or, you know, they just haven't learned these skills yet. So what could this mean for you? If you study up even more in the life book, write down these things, write down your goals, have a plan in place beforehand. Could this make a big difference in your health? So thank you, Sarah, for teaching these things. All right, I'm so excited to introduce you to James and Marcy Crawford next. And you know, it's interesting when we talk about this lifelong transformation, these two are ultra dedicated to this mission of this lifelong of health. So I would love, Marcy and James, for you to share some tools that have helped you and also share your experience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chantel. You know, it's kind of interesting. I think about my journey to creating health, and I think about high school and college and our early years of marriage. I always wanted to be skinny, you know, but I didn't know how to be healthy. And I always thought it was just exercise more and eat less. Anyone ever heard that? So, but it was interesting, you know, as we had our 3 little girls there, after our youngest was born, I came to a point and I realized I needed to make some changes. And I feel like Optavia kind of fell into my lap. So losing weight is amazing, but learning the tools to keep it off long term, that is what this program is all about, is it teaching you the tools to not just lose weight, but really maximize that and keeping it off.
For sure. So when Optavia came into our lives, for me, I didn't need to lose weight. Like, that was not an issue for me. But it didn't mean that I was eating really that great. In fact, one of my best friends lived with us in our freezer, and his name was Ice Cream. But when I started to implement the Optavia way of eating, I noticed something cool, in that my energy totally changed. So prior to this, I had an injury with my legs, and to rehabilitate them, to get them to improve again, I had to spend time in the gym pretty much daily. Well, there were times that it'd be time to go to the gym and my energy would just be too low. So I would either postpone or just skip that altogether. But what I when I started to implement Optavia way of eating is that my energy just stayed nice and stable. And it was really cool. And that it just at the drop of the hat, I felt like any time of the day, it didn't really matter. That I was in a position that I could go and do that exercise, that activity. And that's a blessing that we can experience as we implement Optavia way of eating, healthy eating for life, and considering things like glycemic index. It can have a big impact on how we feel and our energy. So Dr. A has simplified glycemic index for us and made this color code system where we have on the left side of the chart, we have dark green, and that's our nice low glycemic foods that you're getting really familiar with in weight loss with your lean and greens. And we want to keep eating those. Those help us stay nice and healthy. And we go over a little bit further, a little bit higher glycemic index, which we add more into maintenance than in the weight loss phase. We go further over to those yellow, orange color high glycemic index foods. And for you Sesame Street people out there, we have your anytime food or your sometimes food. This is not an anytime food, okay? This is more of a sometimes food. It's not that we have to avoid those high glycemic, or in other words, those starchy, sugary foods, but we do need to be smart about it. And it's more of something that we eat on occasion rather than all the time. And we go further over to that red color, and Dr. A has marked for us the foods that are toxic, which are not doing us any favors. We really ought to just avoid those, right, Jim?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm so sorry, our audio apparently is not so good, and so I apologize. We thought we had that fixed before we got started, but anyway, I love the glycemic index, and it is incredible that Dr. A, the great news is all of this is in element 15, and you can check out the glycemic index there, where he really dives into those foods that are really going to help us stay lean, and as we stay in those green areas. And I remember the first time I saw the glycemic index, and I noticed on this chart the carrots. Notice how carrots raw are at a 30, but when you cook them, they go up to an 80. And so that's actually one reason why carrots aren't on the optimal 5 and 1 plan, just because they're higher glycemic. And as you lose weight though, and as you transition into maintenance, it's good to have those lesser green and yellow, really having those more in maintenance. And then as you go on to your fruits, it's interesting, I love green smoothies. But I realized as I was having my green smoothies, I was using a lot of high glycemic fruits in there. And so recently I was like, I really got to change that up. And so now I use, I just put in spinach, and rather than using all my high glycemic fruits, I use an Optavia shake. And it is the perfect way to go and the perfect summer treat. So, but those are just some things to keep in mind, and you can check these out in your life book, or you can go to habitsofhealth.com and see all of these with detail.
Did you guys learn something new? That's amazing. Before, I actually didn't know a lot about the glycemic index before I'm reading The Habits of Health. And it's just so fascinating to me how not all fruits and veggies are created equally. Who knew? So I'm so glad. Thank you, Marcy and James. And you know what? We could definitely hear what you had to say. So thank you so much for sharing. All right. Well, I would love to hear, what is your favorite tool from Dr. A's healthy eating system? We're going to launch a poll here, and I want you to answer if you feel like your favorite tool that you implement, that you use, is the 9-inch plate, portion control guidelines, color-coded shopping charts, or all of the above. Go ahead and submit that, and I'll submit too. And we want to hear what that is for you. So this is the most important part of this whole webinar. You've listened to all of these tools, you've listened to these inspiring stories from these people. I want to know what action are you going to take as a result of this element? What are you going to take with the knowledge that you have? How are you going to utilize this? So take a minute to open your life book and to write in it, write what you've learned. Maybe it's some awareness around those fruits and veggies, and you're going to start choosing more of the green side. Maybe some of those dining out tips are really going to help you. I know for me, it's the salt. That salt trick is genius. So write down what that is in your element. Also, don't forget that there are different ways to connect. If you have not received, or if you're not receiving the text messages as a reminder for this call, go ahead and send Optavia 30 to 99000 on the right side of the screen. And for playbacks, hopefully you guys all know that on YouTube and podcasts, you can receive both of those playbacks. So we just want to thank you so much for coming on tonight and for being on to hear about this and hear about how to eat healthy for life. Next week, get excited because we have community time all about, I have to move this away to be able to see this, is success through simplicity. So join us next week. So thank you everybody so much for taking the time to invest in you tonight. I wanted to read these poll results. The 9-inch plate, you guys got 13%, portion control guidelines, 21%, color code, 10%, and the majority of you, 56% of you, all of the above. So thank you for participating. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this tonight, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The prior audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope those stories inspire you to continue your journey with or to consider joining Optavia. But please note that they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.